talking about. Is there going to be a tile, Archie, for the conference?
Yeah, for my class.
Hi guys, welcome back to Advanced Weekly Update. I'm John, this is Peter. Hi Peter. And today we're talking about an emergency hospital visit. For lots of people, the prospect of going to an international hospital where you're not completely comfortable with the language and being in an emergency medical situation, it strikes their heart with terror. How about for you? How comfortable would you be talking about your own health care or someone else's in an international hospital? First of all, answer that poll question below. Have you ever been to an international hospital? What are our options?
For going, what are our options?
Oh, for the poll.
Oh.
There's either.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant what hospitals could we go to?
Where can you go to? A local clinic?
I haven't memorized the Taipei hospitals just yet. But yeah, options are yes, I've been to an international hospital. No, I haven't been to an international hospital. Yes, but not as a patient. Ooh, doctor. And fourth, what is a hospital? That's for those of you who are joining us for the first time, perhaps today.
That's
Welcome.
Right.
We're glad to have you. We're going to tell you what a hospital is. We're going to tell you how to speak in English at a hospital. You've come to the right place.
So it looks like most people from our poll have been to an international hospital. Maybe as a student, you broke your leg, you had to go to a hospital. But I'd like to jump into our discussion question for you English students. Why does healthcare provide a unique linguistic challenge? Now, if I'm saying, oh, that provided a challenge, what do I mean by that phrasing?
Well, a challenge is a difficulty, an obstacle in some way. Challenge is one of those words that's hard to define without using the word itself because it's such a useful word. But
a difficult situation,
you got it.
And when we talk about a linguistic challenge, linguistic means about language. So I could say it was a linguistic test, a linguistic challenge. So why are hospitals difficult? And I think part of the reason I've been thinking about this is because here as an expat, as an international person in Taipei, I've had two kids born here in this city. And that means that there's a lot to navigate as a non-Chinese speaker that becomes very difficult. How do I talk about high-level words that are needed for the medical profession?
Right. And at the same time, and I say this not having been to the hospital very much by the grace of God, but given that there is an importance to language communication in a hospital.
Yeah.
When I go to like a dermatologist or an optometrist, they all know, here in Taipei, they all know English. They tend to know English better than people who aren't in the medical fields because of the importance of having one common language when it comes to physical care.
Right. And what we find is that, especially in the scientific field where new technology is developing, oftentimes there are specific high-level terms that are just more common, and often there's a crossover there. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Why is a hospital a difficult place to speak? I've actually brought one of my kids here today. This guy was actually born in the USA. He's wearing his Lakers shirt, and that's Elijah, my oldest. But my other two were born here in Taiwan. So that was a real child, I promise you. Now, let's go to our next question here before we start our vocab. If you haven't subscribed, do that below. Also, get ready. If you're subscribed, you will see we are going to have an in-person chance to meet you guys. We're at a booth, and you'll see some of this information after that. So, first of all, describe a situation where you might have to use English in your own medical care. Okay, so every traveler's worst nightmare, getting injured while traveling, right?
Yes, absolutely. I once went to the hospital because I'd been knocked out, in fact. This is a long, long time ago, and it was in the United States where I live. But it was kind of scary because I was knocked unconscious. I had an accident. I ran into a wall in a theater, and I blacked out. And when I woke up, the paramedics were over me and taking care of me, took me off to the hospital. Wow, and I think I had maybe a mild concussion or something. But I I think about, what if that had happened here? What if
Yeah.
that had, or any foreign country? Here
Yeah.
I'm not quite so worried because I do have my wife who's a native Taipei.
Same,
So
yeah.
As with you. But without that, I don't want to think about it.
It's tough. Yeah, one time I had to go to an international hospital in Costa Rica. I fractured my collarbone. When you fracture something, a bone, it's different from breaking it. It just means it cracked, basically. Well, let's jump into some vocabulary. This is for you today. Get your fingers ready to type, do a stretch, or write them down on the side. You can always revisit this on our YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. The first term, very common, symptoms.
Right.
What are the symptoms?
Symptom is an indication or a sign of something, of an illness. Like when you sneeze or you have a fever or a sore throat, those are symptoms of COVID-19 or the flu or just a cold. Those particular symptoms could be signs of a lot of things. But that's what we mean by symptom.
Yeah, there's a very useful prefix in there, S-Y-M, sim, like the word sympathy, which means like feeling together someone's emotions. Sim means together, symbiotic, two things that live together. We've got the next symptom here. We've actually got a list of common symptoms that I hope you either know or will learn today. Shortness of breath. This is how it's often described in medical textbooks. One of my symptoms was shortness of breath. What does that mean?
Right, just means kind of what it sounds like it means, where your breathing becomes very short, where you're just feels like every breath is very short and you don't know why, and that can be indicative, that can be a symptom
of something like asthma or allergies.
Right, or even an emotional condition like some sort of anxiety or fear often.
A panic attack.
Yeah.
Another symptom that you might experience in your abdominal area or your stomach area, cramps. Now there are muscle cramps. That's when your muscles lock up and give you a sharp pain. You have a hard time moving it. Abdominal cramps, sometimes originating from the stomach, means a short, sharp pain. If something is cramped, you could describe a room as cramped. That means it's crowded and small. There's not a lot of space to move. And same thing with cramps, right?
Right. We think it's good that you mentioned that because we think of cramps in terms of the pain when you feel it in your stomach, and it is quite painful. But that's what's happening: is the normal amount of room in your stomach is being shortened. It's being compressed, and that's what causes the pain.
Yes. And Evangeline, if a doctor asks for your previous illness history, then it's very difficult to describe.
Yes.
Good point. It's really hard to get into the details of really almost anything medical because we have a whole new list of vocabulary with medicine, right? All the body parts, all the medicines, all the symptoms. So hopefully we're here to alleviate some of those linguistic symptoms for you today.
Alleviate, another good word. You ask the doctor to give you something to alleviate the pain you feel. It means to relieve it, to take it down.
Yeah, just like relieve. A-L-L-E-V-I-A-T-E, if I'm not mistaken. All right, the next symptom is very common. It's my least favorite of all the symptoms. Nausea. N-A-U-S-E-A. It's spelled a little strange, but nausea is how you pronounce that.
Looks like it should be nausea, but it's actually nausea. English is funny that way.
Sorry, guys. Nausea is what you feel when you want to throw up. It's that feeling, I feel nauseous. N-A-U-S-E-O-U-S, I believe, is you could say I'm feeling nauseous.
Yeah.
We all have probably experienced that at some point, maybe when you fly, or you eat something bad, or you're just feeling sick.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you will throw up. It's not necessarily a symptom of you're about to throw up, but it is a symptom of something, so it's something to pay attention to.
I got this one when I had COVID-19 back in the early days. The nausea was my least favorite symptom. Now we've got another one that's a little bit more abstract, Vertigo. Also a famous movie by director Alfred Hitchcock. Vertigo is a feeling of dizziness, and when even though you're standing up and doing fine, you feel like you're falling forward or backwards. You're disoriented. As we know, you might know your inner ear helps give you a good sense of balance. So when things are just off, your system is off. I don't know exactly what causes it. You can feel vertigo, and it can create nausea.
Yeah, no, I actually have a family member who experienced vertigo a few years back, and it's funny because it does seem to be more something that we hear about in the movies nowadays, vertigo, but it was awful. She was just going around her daily business, and it was suddenly this sensation of falling and of not being able to keep herself steady and straight, just walking down the street, not climbing a mountain or, some extreme situation, just everyday life. Very unpleasant.
Yeah, we don't think about how nice life is until something goes wrong. And some of these symptoms like nausea, vertigo, can really take it out of you. It's a way of saying if something takes it out of you, it means it basically takes away your energy and your focus. You could say, oh, climbing up those stairs really took it out of me. In this case, it being your energy and your health. We've got three symptoms here. A migraine is a special intense kind of headache. Typically a migraine headache happens right inside the center of your forehead and is a very intense, sharp headache. We also have this term, a spasm. A spasm can be like a cramp, is a little bit different. How would you describe a spasm?
Right, a spasm is where your muscle starts to contract and expand of its own, seemingly of its own, without stopping.
Yeah.
I sometimes get these spasms in my eyelid.
Me too.
Of all places.
Yeah, when I'm tired, and your eye twitches, basically.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a spasm or a sudden, move like that, that we might call what I was doing there as spasmodic, having spasms. Important thing to know, though, is that in the medical field, spasm is often the same word used to describe a cramp.
Okay.
The kind of muscle cramp that you get in your legs. Doctors will just as easily refer to it as spasm as cramp. So we need to just know that cramp and spasm have some overlap.
Yeah. Have you ever had a cramp? No. Maybe. So the next one has to do with lower back pain, having a slipped disc. So the discs are the little cushions, I believe, between your spinal bones. And so if one of them slips or moves to the side, it can create intense pain and damage. So a slipped disc is often a lower back injury. Have you ever, hopefully never had a slipped disc?
I have not. It is a thing to be aware of, but most lower back pain is actually a spasm. And not a spasm like that, but a spasm in the sense of a cramp. It is the lower back muscles have cramped or spasmed, and it produces pain, and you have to lie down on your back for 2 or 3 days until it relaxes. Maybe not that long, but for some people it can be that long.
Okay, go for it. The next vocab that we have here is more about the actual parts of your body. Intestines.
Although this is where a cramp can happen.
Yeah, this is where you can have a cramp. Yeah. Your intestines are beneath your stomach. They are the pipes, the tubes. You have two major parts, your large intestine at the bottom and your small intestine that filters out the nutrients from your food, if I remember my biology. And so your intestines are those big coils of your digestive tract, basically. Yeah. It's no fun to have problems with your intestines, and we won't go into it here. Now one that you might be familiar with if you've been watching the COVID English news, respiratory. Respiratory.
Yes. That is breathing. What we deal with breathing, and of course breathing is the way that this is what I get for being a theater major instead of a medical major, but breathing and the heart, they're connected in some way, I know, and it's the blood that circulates the air. I'm getting this wrong.
You breathe in and your lungs take in oxygen, which go to your red blood cells, and your red blood cells carry the oxygen to parts of your body so that you can break down sugars and do other stuff, I believe.
And we've got a note from Evangeline here.
Yeah, sitting down too long every day could cause slipped discs. That's true.
I'm going to stand right now.
Yeah, you should stand up like
just a little, although I'm probably out of shot now, aren't I?
There you go.
Okay,
all right.
Good reminder, Evangeline.
There are lots of other terms that we could talk about, body parts. If you ever have questions, let us know. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that doctors can prescribe to treat certain symptoms. We have this word, a prescription. I always want to say prescription because of my Midwest accent, but it's prescription.
Right.
How do you say that?
Prescription.
Prescription. See, that sounds so good when he says it. Prescription.
Well, it's something like John said that is prescribed. So that's how you can remember it. That's the verb form to prescribe something, and the noun is a prescription, a little piece of paper with an illegible doctor's signature on it, and you get the medicine that you need.
That's right. You've probably all had a prescription for something or other. Now, you can also use that word prescribe in a non-medical way.
Yeah.
You can say, my teacher prescribed homework. It would be a little bit more of a creative way to say it, but prescribe means offer a solution.
Right, and a requirement as
There you
well.
go.
It has that nuance in it too. It's not a huge difference whether it's used in the medical field or not, but there is some difference.
Yeah, kind of assigned in a more specific way. Okay, we've got a few more terms here. 3 more for you. Bear with us. Antibiotics. We just had some antibiotics. My littlest son, without getting into it, he had just a little thing that needed some antibiotics. What are those?
Right, well,
theater majors here.
Yeah, here, get your medical knowledge here. Anti, of course, meaning against.
Against, yeah, anti.
And biotics, basically what antibiotics do is they are antibacterial. Bacteria, of course, a single-celled organism, very, very, very small, actual living thing. And we have all kinds of good and bad bacteria in the world, but when there is bad bacteria in us that can make us sick, and an antibiotic, again, think of it as antibacteria, it attacks all the bacteria. That's the thing, right? You need to be careful with antibiotics because it doesn't distinguish the good from the bad. It just goes after all the bacteria.
Yeah, and of course, with modern medicine, antibiotics can be more targeted. That word, though, is helpful for your vocab. Anti against bio, meaning life. So biology is the study of life. Bioethics, the study of doing the right thing with biology. So antibiotics literally means anti-life. But it's going after the bacteria.
You want to think of it as antibacteria, otherwise it sounds like something that kills you if it's anti-life. So again, English is funny.
Yeah. Now here's a few more very common terms. You might know them, but just make sure you do. One is painkillers. If you're injured and you're recovering, you just had a surgery, sometimes you'll be given painkillers. Be very careful with those. Of course, they can really mess up your digestive tract, your intestines, and can cause long-term damage if overused. Painkillers take away the pain, right? They kill or end the pain. And one word that you need to know by now, vaccine. Do you know the word vaccine? What's a vaccine? Here, I'll give you one right now.
So
there you
much
go.
better.
Now you'll never be
I am
sick
now
again.
vaccinated against losing my English vocabulary. Vaccine, as we all know, having gone through the pandemic, it is the antidote that you get injected into you so that your body can create its own natural defense against whatever bacteria or virus or whatnot.
And the word vaccinated means given a vaccine, given a preventative
You have received
measure.
the vaccine. Vaccinate.
Well, friends, I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear your funny or difficult medical stories. The time in Costa Rica, I was swimming in the ocean and I got caught by a wave and I landed right on my shoulder. And I stood up and I couldn't move my arm and I had fractured my collarbone. Your collarbone, friends, is that bone if you poke right here, like right there. And you don't want to crack it because it hurts everything. So I went into a doctor. He prescribed painkillers and a sling. A sling is what you put on your arm and it goes over your shoulder. Sling, that word actually comes from an old weapon where it was like a string with a rock and you could throw the rock.
Right.
So a sling.
Instead of throwing a rock with it, you put your broken arm in it and it holds it in place and allows it to heal more easily.
Yeah, that word sling, without getting into it too much, the word sling can mean to throw something casually, or if you're talking about slinging your bag over your shoulder, you could say, my wife slung her purse over her shoulder, just to kind of throw casually. Well, friends, we're out of time for today. Check out this line link here. We're coming up with some new vocabulary software that will really help you. It looks really nice, and it will be an easy way for you to get vocab breakdowns throughout your day. Challenge yourself, take that QR code, make sure to come in person and say hi at the conference, and we'll put that information right here. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribing helps us, and it will help us send your more English learning to your feed, and we all can use more motivation to study language, right?
Yes, we are prescribing that you subscribe to our channel.
That was nice. There we go. All right, friends, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. God bless.
Take care. Stay healthy.